Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta,
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
and today we're resuming our trek down Akihito Tsukushi's and Kinema Citrus's never-ending fun-time ethic-smashing murder hole with Made in Abyss Season 2.
Fucking great lead-in.
So it's been 5 years after Season 1 and 2 years after the movie, and now Made in Abyss has finally come back to television.
After, 5 years, I think, because Season 1 came out in 2017.
Yeah.
So I was not there back when Season 1 came out, but I am making up for it by being around as an anime fan in order to watch Season 2 as it's airing. Well, I'm not watching it weekly, but I am watching it around the time it airs. I watched 6 episodes for the podcast all in the same day.
Yeah, I watched the last couple days, and let me tell you, it felt good to be back. And remember, if you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to hit the like button, head on down to the comments to let us know what you think of the show, and finally, subscribe to the channel for more episodes of Castaway Anime and other videos.
JoJo の遺物、この世ならざる景色、そして呪い、どれもたる求めた不可思議に、求めた厳しさに、きっとこの先に求めた源泉すらも。
I will say this, Season 2 was very unexpected. I would put that as my primary adjective for what Season 2 does compared to the previous entries in the series. It's not, I'm not even sure if it's as good, and it's not noticeably worse. It's just really not what I anticipated for a Made in Abyss Season 2. But you know what?
Well,
I
see,
think
what
that has
they're-
merit. I like
Yeah,
unexpected things.
What they're doing is that they're not only building on the lore and the history of the Abyss, but they're also parallel narratives because the events of what happened in these flashback sequences are coming back around to relevancy in Rico's quest.
Yeah, I
And
wonder.
I think it's brilliant.
Okay, so I guess I'll go at first, I guess, a little into why I think it's so, why it was so surprising for me to watch. So, Made in Abyss Season 1 is like this adventure show with really good world building. So, you got a little bit of weird shit with the world building. And that's something I've sort of noticed about Tsukushi's writing, where he tends to go into, these, he'll use the world building of the Abyss as an excuse to go into these really out there concepts, like fucking cloning MIDI, which we'll get into. So, Made in Abyss had a little bit of this surreal weirdness with its mechanics, but it wasn't as omnipresent as it is in this specific season. No, it was just a little out there of a world with a pretty classic-ish adventure story. And there was a lot of emphasis on that adventure story. Season 2 has a little bit of adventuring, but it's a lot more about getting to know a society and how they function, as well as getting acquainted with specifically 2 new characters and just a lot of wackiness. It takes the weirdness of the Abyss and just fucking elevates it to a billion with not nearly as much emphasis on adventuring, which is weird from an adventure show.
Because they're spending the entire time in this one layer, in the society, the monster village. I will say that not to say that the amount of world building has been toned down overall in Season 2 compared to Season 1, but it does feel like Season 2 is focusing a little less on world building and a little more on lore, especially with going back into the colonizers of the Abyss with Vueko, Wazukyan, Belaf, and all those guys.
How did
and
you
making
remember
their first
all those names? All I remember is
I
Faputa and Vueko.
I mean, they're important characters. They show up later as hollows.
Wait. Did I not? I don't think I pieced that together. Wait, hold on.
Wait. Bruh?
I didn't
did you
remember
not-
their names long enough to piece that together.
The purple haired dude who was the leader of the group, leader of the bunch. You know him well, and he's that one hollow who likes high-fiving Rico and has like that weird mask face.
Okay, I understand the twist now. Well, I guess it's not really a twist. It's kind of expected considering the world building right now, but I understand it now that you've explained it, but I genuinely didn't remember their names long enough to get it in the moment.
Yeah, and Beloff, the white-haired, blue-eyed Scar boy, is the like giant snake thing that has Midi and Nanachi.
Okay. All right.
I can't believe you didn't pick up on that.
Well, to be fair, most of the we're calling it a like I guess what, synchronous narrative. There's like two stories happening at once and
Parallel storytelling.
Parallel storytelling.
Yeah, parallel. Yeah.
We're calling it that, but to be fair, it's mostly episode 1 and then a brief moment in episode 3 where it like actually goes into flashbacks. But okay, and to be fair, it's about to go into 1, I think.
I was very worried because when we opened with the flashbacks to Waco and her crew, I thought it was gonna be like that for like if not the entire first episode, then like maybe even a couple episodes straight, and then we jump back to Rico's quest. But I'm very glad that they took some time to establish Waco and her team, and then they went back to Rico. Then occasionally they'd cut back to relevant, important information. They let us piece together a lot of it in our own head, and I'm sure in the next 6 episodes they'll tell us more important details, like all the stuff with what's the little girl's name that got exiled? Iram Yui.
Iram Yui. I'm trying to remember who.
She's like the Abyss native, which, by the way, is a fucking crazy thought in and of itself. That you'd think that the humans who like explored the Abyss and colonized it would be like the first people in the Abyss, but no, there are fucking human natives in the Abyss.
Wild, wacky stuff happening in season 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Tsukushi's going fucking ham with the lore. Speaking of Tsukushi,
we're going into it already.
Yeah, one of my first notes is not even 1 minute into episode 1, season 2, and we already have implied child rape. It's like never change, bro. Never change, Akihito.
Oh my. Okay, so I have a bit of a tangent about this, right? If you recall, in the first Made in Abyss cast we did, I was like, Made in Abyss isn't weird. No, there's nothing weird about it. It's just a normal adventure story. There's nothing weird. And then we get to, the time of the Dawn of the Deep Soul cast. And I was like, okay, there is the, checks notes, Prushka decapitation body writing nipple scene. But, for the most part, aside from the occasional for the most part, it's normal. It was about the time when the black tentacle monster was shoving itself up the asshole of Masen that I was wondering if I've been in denial this entire time.
Which one was Masen?
The one that literally only says Ma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Literally, tentacles reach up into Masen in order to steal all their possessions.
His name's not Masen, it's just Ma.
Ma. So not Masen? Or Masen?
No, I don't know where you got that. The Rico named him Ma because that's the only sound he makes.
I thought it was Masen, but
I have
maybe
no idea where you're getting the
misremembering
Sen
it.
part from.
It's not Sen, it's San. Like dash San.
Okay, Crunchy. It appears I have to give you a little lesson on the Japanese language. You know how Japanese people have honorifics,
Yeah.
and they use the word san at the
Yeah.
end to like indicate general. Yeah, that's what they were doing.
Yeah, I know that's what they were doing.
Oh, so you were just calling him Ma-san because you're just being a weeb.
Crunchy weeb moment. For some reason, I keep the honorifics when it's like a cutesy nickname or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah, so we open in season 2, episode 1 with the flashback with Vueko and her crew going to find the abyss, because inside the abyss there's the Golden City, which allegedly turns anything brought there to gold, which is, you know, good enough reason for anything for colonization. Classic Ponce de Leon type shit.
Just going to the city to get riches.
Only to come out with stitches.
Pretty
of the
much.
Psychological variety.
I guess I'll build on what you were saying about it. Like you were worried it would take a few episodes. Yeah, if it had taken a few episodes, probably would have been kind of bad, because I mean, I like the first episode of Made in Abyss season 2 for what it does.
Yeah, there's not a single bad episode in this batch.
Absolutely. But I definitely, like, towards the end of the flashback, I was like, okay, I'm vibing with this, but you know, not really invested in these people yet. And then it cuts back to Rico and Reg, and I was like, I remember feeling a little relieved and be like, okay, we are going to get back to characters that I am
familiar
invested
faces.
in. Yeah, because that's really what the viewer cares about. I do think that it does a very good job of just setting up, okay, this is parallel storytelling. Just get in, get the fuck out, tell the viewer what they need to know. Made in Abyss has always been fairly good with like keeping the pacing quick, and this is another instance of that, which I like.
Yeah, a lot of the pacing of these 6 episodes have been very on point. Like, there's not a single moment where I'm like feeling like, oh, I'm so bored. Like, I'm fully attentive. All of my senses are heightened and fucking dead set on the screen. Cause there's some fucking wild developments here. And according to Made in Abyss fans, contains the I'm just going off of what they're saying, cause I haven't looked into it yet because I don't want to be spoiled. This is like the darkest the story will get so far. Like, it's gonna make fucking Dawn of the Deep Soul look like a fucking joke.
That is a frightening prospect. Like, how? What do you do beyond Dawn of the Deep Soul? That's my question. Literally fucking what?
I feel like it's gonna be something to do with I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but that teaser at the end of episode 6 with Vueko having that inner dialogue with herself about I think she was referring to Iramui, and there's this shot of this amber-looking crystal thing, almost kind of reminiscent of the star compass, but like kind of like a deformed one.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like inside. It looks like it's inside the guts of something. Like it's surrounded by a bunch of muscles and flesh. And I can't help but feel like, I see this relatively cute little girl child in the Made in Abyss story. So I wonder how badly we can fuck them up, either physically or emotionally.
I mean, hey, that's the entire point of the Abyss.
Because I mean, we're like, we've got like a fucking perfect track record for little girl abuse in this story.
I just want to point this out because I have it quoted, which is that in the flashback sequence in episode 1, Vueko, upon seeing, I think it's Fapita, the little girl, she is convincing the party to let Fapita stay with them. And one of her
ways...
Fapita
or Iramui?
is the small child Iramui.
The hollow with that like is going after Reg that has like the multiple arms and jumps all over the place is Faputa. The little exiled Abyss native girl that travels with the Abyss explorers as their guide is Iramui.
Okay, so I associated the two. Not gonna lie, I like.
I don't blame you because I'm pretty sure that they are connected in some way.
I think Fabato's the hollow of Iramui. I genuinely forgot Iramui's name because I just immediately went like, "That's Fabata." They look so similar.
I know they do look very similar, and I would not be surprised if she is the hollow of her.
It's like
everyone else has turned
the
into a
female
hollow.
Titan arc in Attack on Titan, where like, oh, that's totally her. Oh, that's totally Fabata. So anyway, Vueko is trying to get the party to take Iramui, and one of her excuses is, look at her body, it's so supple. And I was like, damn, at least we know who Tsukushi's self-insert is.
The very first thing that I just want to point out the very first thing we see with Iramui is Beloff lifts up her shirt to look at her back, and there's markings on her back in their language that apparently she is to be exiled into the abyss because for some reason she can't bear children. Which, first of all, she's a fucking, what, 5-year-old girl?
How did they figure that out?
And like, either this tribe is very hardcore, or they've got no consent laws down there.
Or maybe there's like some, I mean, I guess we can it could really be anything, but maybe like some kind of magical reason that she can't bear children. But whatever the case may be.
I'm just curious to know how the fuck they figured that out.
Maybe it'll be in Vueko's epic tragic backstory. Maybe they'll give us the answer to this mystery.
One thing I did notice about the flashback that makes me have a question about the story now is they take the same elevator pod thing down from the 5th layer into the 6th layer, but they establish in the Dawn of the Deep Soul movie that in order to get access to that elevator, you need to have a white whistle. So was that like a rule was that like a mechanic implemented after the establishment of cave raiders and like the whistles, or what?
You know, that is an interesting thing to point out. And honestly, I didn't really think of it, but
because like it's I feel because in the context of the manga, this would have been like immediately after the events of Dawn of the Deep Soul, and it is in the anime, but I'm saying in terms of like the manga, it would have been like, I think the story's updated like a month. I think it's a monthly manga, whereas the anime comes out when it's ready. So I don't want to assume that it's a plot hole, and I think my idea of it being a mechanic implemented after the creation of the cave raiders and the whistles is correct. Otherwise, that's just a really weird plot hole.
It's definitely not a plot hole. I mean, even if we assume that
it'd only be a plot hole if, like, oh, you need a white whistle to get in there, except what these guys did it so long ago without the concept of whistles even being a thing, so oops, I guess you could have just taken the elevator whenever you wanted.
I mean, even still, like, Prushka manages to turn herself into a white whistle with presumably having, like, no knowledge as to how to do it, just sort of, like, willing herself into that form. So, yeah, I can imagine, like, a few of the adventurers are being like, holy shit, although how would they know to turn themselves into whistles? So I guess that would be the next logical question. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens. And how the story explains it.
Another thing I want to know is that when they get to the 5th layer with the Vueko and her crew, the weird rotating lab is still there. And I thought that was built by the cave raiders, but I guess it's always been there. But it's like, who built that?
God damn, this is a really, really advanced ancient civilization.
Because I could have sworn that they established in the movie that that laboratory and the rotating base was built by the cave raiders in order to like take advantage of the properties of the fifth layer.
Do you think? All right. Does the parallel story say anything about specifically when it happens? Because they could be like after the cave.
Well, that's the thing. They don't mention the they don't like name drop or like bring note to the rotating lab. It's just a thing that you see that is like, because that's like the main highlight, the main landmark of the fifth layer.
Yeah. But like, do you think this entire flashback could be happening like post cave raiders, in essence? Like the cave raiders have been doing things for a little while, and then they come in as like,
I don't think so. Well, no, because Orth isn't there.
Orth is. Oh, you're right. Orth isn't. Okay.
No, these guys are supposedly the first people to find the abyss.
I mean, I'm not sure if they'd be the very first, but
Well,
probably the first.
Actually,
to
well,
make it
they're not
that far
technically
down.
they're not the first because they only know about the abyss because they run into
Yeah.
that ship with all like the fucked up corpses and the one guy who's like fucking traumatized. It's like, I've seen it. I've seen the Golden City, and then dies. But it seems like the story is setting them up to be like the first successful exploration of people who like went down into the abyss and somehow were able to spread the word of the abyss back to the upper society. That's at least what I'm led to believe. Like, I know that the curse will like cause anyone to get fucked up on their way up, but like they had to have communicated with the outside world some way. Otherwise, I don't know what the point of introducing like this first like this first exploration to the abyss. What the point of like them being the first ones were significant.
I mean, I guess one of the ways they could spread the word is like either someone becomes a hollow and just goes up to the surface not really caring about the curse, or they like send up a bunch of mail balloons like Rico and Co do.
That maybe we'll get an explanation for that in the other 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Speaking of talking about the manga before, you know, there's some main Abyss fans, some detractors of the anime specifically, who still say that the anime is inferior to the manga, maybe because, you know, the artwork isn't as good, or somehow the atmosphere just isn't the same. But to those non-believers, I say, does the manga have hilarious fucking fart and poop sound effects
Oh
for
my
Rico
God.
dropping a deuce in front of her friends?
Oh my God.
That's what I thought. Fucking check and mate, atheists.
All right, so I just want to say, if I had a nickel for every time Rico took a shit on screen in this arc, I'd have 2 nickels,
Have 2 nickels.
which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
You know, I have an explanation for this. You know
Fucking
how
lay it on me, man.
you know how manga artists all mangaka tend, or like storytellers in general, tend to evolve with their stories.
I think I see where this is going.
Yeah, you know, like, you know, some like the quality of their art will improve, or maybe the writing
Yeah.
will improve as well.
Mhm.
Like, for example, you look at JoJo Part 1 manga compared to the fucking Part 8 manga and see just how fucking wildly different it is. Or just comparing any long-running manga, like first volume to their last volume, just see how, you know, the art or the stories like radically shifted. Here we see Tsukushi's taste in piss evolve into scat.
Oh my god. That's fucking... Yeah, it's an evolution of the story, guys. It's evolved.
Riko's no longer just has to pee on screen. She has to fucking take loud shits. It's not just she can't just like be off screen like behind a bush and we see like maybe her head poking out. No, we gotta hear it.
Okay, my question is, why the fuck did they choose that sound effect? It's like okay, this show has amazing sound effects overall. There was even one moment of like brilliant sound design, I thought, where like Faputa is literally ripping into Reg's stomach, and that scene gave me the chills like 90% because of the sound
because her
effects
fucking
they
nails
used.
like digging right into into his belly button, like it go.
Like it has a ripping
it's very,
sound.
yeah, it's very unsettling. Very goosebumps inducing because it's just like, ew.
Yeah,
it's realistic.
So they have, those moments of brilliant sound design, and then they have Rico shitting sound effect, and it's like, it feels like a cartoon almost. I mean, it is a cartoon, but it's like so.
I swear
strange.
I can go on YouTube and look up like poop fart sound effect, and I feel like I could find that exact one.
You probably could. Is it like a Fire
Force? That exact soundbite.
Is it a Fire Force bruh sound effect moment where they just took it from YouTube?
I will say the main Abyss continues to prove their masterclass in tone shifting. How let's see, what was it, episode 4, I think it was, where they're going through like this scene of Reg exploring the Fapata section of the 6th layer. Excuse me. And how, like you see fucking dragons everywhere. There's a bunch of big puffy clouds swirling all around. And it's just like, it's wonderful and mysterious and just like majestic. And then immediately the next scene is Rico doing poopfart.mp3.
Hey Neon, you know how you thought the tone shifts in Sangatsu no Lion were jarring? Well, personally, I think that this is a masterclass in tone shifts.
Yeah.
Fuck Sangatsu no Lion. This is better. This is incredible, guys. This
I
is peak
laughed.
fiction.
Because I didn't expect them to just hit me with the straight up poopfart.mp3 like twice, let alone immediately after a pretty serious scene.
Okay, but listen, if this arc is resolved, like if they resolve the Rico shitting arc with her on the toilet for a third time, but this time they bass boost the sound effect, it will be a 10 out of 10.
They deep fry it.
Yeah. That will be a 10 out of 10. Like just on principle alone, honestly.
One of the things that I see some Made in Abyss fans, whenever the topic of animating bits of the manga come up, there's always talk of, you think they're finally like gonna draw the line at something and be like, nope, this is too weird. This is going too far. We can't animate this. And it seems to me, according to like the discussions I've seen about the second season thus far, everything has survived the transition.
So I guess
so
that is interesting.
Yeah, so like let me, I know this might be like a bit of a tangent, but let me take this quick aside to do a little role play and pretend that I am Tsukushi's editor over wherever the fuck the Made in Abyss manga is published.
You poor soul. Lord have mercy on you for being that fucking guy's editor. All right, continue.
Yeah, so let me get into character. Tsukushi Sensei, I've been looking over the drafts you sent in for the newest chapter, and like, good work as always. I feel like the artwork's really good. I got a couple notes here that I just wanted to go over with you. So Rico's like 12, right? Okay, yeah, we've established that. is it completely necessary for the story that you write that the living toilet rim jobs Rico? Is that a necessary detail? Do you think we might be able to leave that one on the cutting room floor?
It's like the Emoto Sei Erba E skit where Itsuki is always giving his editor like the weirdest fucking shit, except unironically.
Like, I want to know. I want to fucking sit down and have a chat with Tsukushi so badly.
Oh my god!
Just so I want to pick that man's brain.
That would. Are you sure you want to? Are you sure you want him to impart that?
I want to know how he fucking. I want to know what possessed him to write the toilet rim job.
I think the moment, oddly enough, the moment that so one of the moments that got to me is when the guy who like carves the white whistles, it's revealed that like he almost gets like a sort of sexual pleasure from doing so.
He says he climaxed.
Yeah, it's like so far out of left field, and it's like, of all the things, this was like completely unnecessary. We're literally barging into another character's thoughts in order to impart upon the audience this random, completely unnecessary detail. At least with the toilet giving Rico a rim job, you could argue it was like world building. At least there was an argument.
No, editor, you don't understand. It adds flavor. The toilet being alive and licking your dirty asshole clean is like integral to the world, to the flavor.
All right, listen, Mr. Editor. Right, if I don't add the toilet licking Rico's ass, the entire story and world will fall apart completely, and this entire manga will go to shit and no one will buy it. This is the reason everyone reads Made in Abyss, editor.
And yeah, going back to the jeweler guy that carved out Prushka into her new form. It is. I did like have to like pause the episode and rewind and be like, did I read that correctly? Surely I misinterpreted something, right?
Surely it's just a mistranslation. Then you remember it's a Tsukushi adaptation.
No, and they give of all like the characters who speak that old Abyss rune language, they made sure that the jeweler got his own translation to the audience, because it was imperative to know to the viewer that this man came after he finished carving Prushka.
It feels okay. Have I been in denial? I want your serious. Okay.
Yes, you have been in denial that Tsukushi is not a fucking weirdo.
Was it this bad in season 1 though? Because I don't think it was. Yeah.
No, the worst it ever got was piss and the occasional dick joke.
I mean, yeah, at least because back in the day, right? Back in the days of the Made in Abyss cast for season 1, I was like, oh, this contributes to the world building. It shows that their morals are all sorts of messed up. I still found ways to defend that as like being something a rational, sane man would be able to write. I'm just at a loss for words now.
Here's the important world building that Tsukushi didn't let us know about. How come the first time that Riko shit herself in front of her friend, well, she didn't shit herself in front of her friend the second time, but the first time she shits on screen into that like crater in the elevator, we can deduce with context clues and sound design, like between the wetness of her farts and that sigh of relief she has after the fact, her shits must be fucking crazy, because they be eating all kinds of weird shit down there. I want to know what the fuck she wiped with.
She didn't. That's the answer. I thought
disgusting.
That too. Although I guess to be fair, when you're in the abyss and all sorts of filthy, right? And you need to take a fat dump, but there isn't a river nearby. You're not gonna, take the time to try and find like a bunch of leaves to wipe with or whatever. You're probably just gonna like just take a dump. You're already filthy here anyway.
I think they make it a point in certain episodes to bathe themselves.
I mean, yeah, like that's why I said if they can find a river.
It feels weird to me that Tsukushi is so determined to have all of these different moments happen, like these weird gross bodily functions realistically portrayed in the story, that you can't be leaving out the key details like this. You expect me to believe Rico's walking around with fucking gross poopy asshole the entire time?
I mean, I can imagine, all right, a different version, like a slightly less insane Tsukushi being like, in all of these adventure stories, they never show the characters using the restroom because that's kind of gross and also an unnecessary detail, but they do have to do that. And so I can imagine a sane author, having one of the characters squat behind like a bush or something and be like, okay, like, yeah, this does happen. Don't worry. We didn't forget. Haha, there's no plot holes here. Only buttholes. Why did I say that? I want to die. But anyway, I can imagine a sane person writing that. Tsukushi has to take it to the next level. We can't have anything tasteful-ish like that.
This man's creative vision must be protected at all costs, no matter how fucking problematic or weird it is.
If this
just because I want to see what the fuck he gets up to next.
God, the 7th arc, what will happen for that? I can't imagine it. But anyway.
Going in episode 2, continuing with the theme of degeneracy, the first thing Riko does in the 6th layer is to take her coat off to expose a little more skin. Which is probably the tamest thing Tsukushi's done with Riko thus far.
Flinch. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, because you've fucking been desensitized with all like the actual shit that she's been through.
I was just like, oh, well, she's taking off her coat in order to, feel less hot.
Not be hot?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Normal.
Here's a question for you. How do you feel about the new OP?
It's weird because I really love the opening notes to it. I remember the first time hearing the OP being like, oh, this is it. We're getting into something big. And then I listened to the rest of the OP once like the vocals start, and I was like, it's okay. It's just fine. But maybe it'll grow on me. But then I watched more of the episodes, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine every time. It's just okay.
I'm a fan. I love the song. I think it's a better opening than the first one, which is also good.
Oh, that's not my opinion at all. I love the first OP.
I especially love the editing in the second OP with all of the parallel storytelling and the visuals between Riko and Fueco's gangs. I will say though, gotta slap Kinema Citrus on the wrist for this one for packing the opening full of spoilers.
That is the main reason why, because like the first Made in Abyss OP, right? It's mostly voice crack.
You get glimpses at the characters you'll meet along the way,
yeah.
But like you don't get spoiled on like the events that happen.
You get like
in the story.
A third of a second of Nanachi turning her head, like this one glimpse of like the 5th layer, which the 5th layer doesn't even happen in the first season. So that's that's like super spoilers, but like also just like
you get like half-second shots of Ozen and Bondrewd, and that's like all you need.
Yeah, it's like these sort of like blink and you miss it. Oh, hey, there's a new character. I'm excited for that. But most of the OP is the like Riko and Reg running around the first layer looking for each other, and then when they finally meet each other, they have like Riko has like
this
the
really
cutest
cute embrace.
Like this amazing
and
hug.
Reg like swings her around. It's
and Reg blushing at her smile. Like that to me,
Kino.
it makes the first opening like a fucking classic. It's like, it's great stuff. Opening 2, I mean, I do like the editing with like the parallel storytelling, but I don't know, nothing about it. I mean, first of all, I just don't like the song as much, but second of all, it just doesn't really pop the same way, at least in my opinion. But we can have our own taste.
Yeah, I just would have liked to have watched it without knowing stuff like, oh, Rico gets a new outfit. Damn, I would have liked to see that happen myself. I also would have liked to see what happened to Waco without looking at the opening.
Yeah,
like,
I
now
don't like that the OP literally shows you like in your face Vueko. I mean, I guess it is like a
in
cool
her adult
shot,
form,
but
when she's like when she's with the village of balancing force, all naked and tied up, and it's like, well, now I know this is gonna happen.
You know, it should have just been like the first OP and be like, okay, you get a half second of Vueko in her adult form, with all the strands attached to her.
I wouldn't even. I feel like even that's too far. I would have just taken like a close up of Waco's adult face, but like don't show like the goop around her.
Oh, that honestly would have been better, so that like you wonder, okay, there's like a brief glimpse of the background behind her. What is that?
Like,
and then when you get to the part in the show, you're like, oh, that's
yeah,
what this
exactly.
is of. That's how you do it. But instead, we get Rico in the OP, with her haircut, writing, I forget his name, but one of the hollows, and like his, I guess he changes.
Majikaja?
Yeah, Majikaja, whatever it is. Like in his writing form, because I guess he can do that if he gets all powered up with value.
Yeah. Speaking of value, that's a good transition to talk about the monster village. What the fuck was it called? It has a name.
You know me and names.
I have it written down somewhere. Let's see. God, I know I wrote it down like one time somewhere. Okay, it's called Iruburu.
Iruburu. I'm gonna write that down myself just so I don't remember or don't forget it.
Or as I like to call it, Undertale.
It is. It literally is just one of the villages from Undertale. Like the monster design.
I looked at the monster designs. I'm like, yeah, I would not be surprised if like some of these were like rejected Toby Fox designs.
I wonder if
you can't tell me that Ma would wouldn't like fit into the world of Undertale.
Ma literally probably in some alternate version of reality, Ma is
he's just like a pink Napstablook.
A little bit, kinda. But they have the exact same sense
Shape.
of like huh?
No, I was saying Ma and Napstablook have the same shape.
Oh, well, yeah. But like Made in Abyss and Undertale have sort of like with this specific village the same design sensibilities, which is weird because Undertale had such specific design sensibilities that made it stand out. Not to say that I even necessarily think like it could even be possible that Tsukushi literally doesn't even know like what the monsters in Undertale look like and just came up with this in his own imagination.
Oh no, yeah, I would not be surprised at all if you went up to him and he's like, "What the fuck is an Undertale?"
But they are very
interestingly.
interestingly.
It's just where my mind went
yeah,
to.
it is very interestingly similar in terms of sensibility, and I think that is also another thing that makes this arc feel so different from the first season, because it's like the first season didn't have nearly this same like I'm trying not to say design sensibility, but I'm just gonna say it again, design sensibility with the monster designs. It was always like more
You mean like aesthetic?
Aesthetic also. Yeah, like it didn't have the same aesthetic in essence.
Yeah, the monsters in season 1 were, well, I suppose that's a key difference. This isn't a village of monsters necessarily. This is a village of hollows.
Yeah, to be fair. And the
Yeah,
monsters
because
that we
like
do see in
the
this arc are very much like the first season in that regard.
yeah, they're all, and what makes these hollows interesting? They're not like the, for lack of a better term, complete hollows like Nanachi, where she retained most of her humanity and only became a furry. All of these ones had like their bodies completely fucking altered. Like they don't even resemble human shapes anymore. The one of them, the standout favorite is like the guy who just likes having tiny creatures walk all over him. He's like a little flat pancake, a blue pancake looking dude.
That guy, he's kind of an endearing background character, admittedly.
And the key the economy behind this village is they make trades based on not currency but values. Essentially whatever they enjoy or whatever like they value the most to themselves. Like some like one of the hollows enjoys having tubes pass through their bodies. The other one or another one enjoys slicing bodies apart. Or like Majikaja likes modifying his kind of mechanical looking body.
Yeah, and it's even explains that like their hollow forms are made to match their desires. At least on some level, because obviously they're all sort of misshapen and like weird, but nonetheless, in the misshapen blobbiness, they will to some degree match their desires, which is interesting. And you say there's no currency, but you can technically turn like valuable objects through some force that I'm sure we'll get more explanation on later into these coins that you can then trade directly.
I was confused about that at first. I thought it was like non-diegetic at first because the coins come out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah,
They
just
literally like spawn out of thin air. But I thought they like this trade based on like things they value. But then we see later Riko gets the coins that she got from the balancing from Ma that we'll get into later and use them to pay for a stay at an inn like they were coins. I'm like, well then where the fuck do they come out of thin air from?
Like this is what I mean when I say that like the abyss and the mechanics are getting wackier than ever in the second season, because it's like, how does any of this work? That is my question, because at first, like when you start Made in Abyss season 1, like sure you have the Curse of the Abyss, but you think we're mostly going to be a grounded-ish adventure story, and then you get to the 6th layer and it's like, well, now there's this black tentacle monster that decides the value of objects and can like rip people to shreds if they steal, and also it magically turns things you like into coins. And it's like, well, huh?
It is fucking crazy. The entire 6th layer, they do a really good job of establishing just how much like shit just got even realer than the other layers that came before. Like one of the first things we see happen is that it's called the capital of the unreturned, and it's like, oh well, no fucking wonder there are geothermal vents that take the shape of giant heat bubbles that explode into fireball rain that leave poisonous gas after impact. So it's not a fucking surprise it was able to come back from this.
That scene is like absolutely fucking great. I love it. Like everyone rushing for cover. It's actually really tense really early on into the arc. And I was like,
It's
damn,
not.
this is
It's not
this is
just enough
Kino.
that fires. It's not just enough that fire literally rains from the sky. It's that after the fire explodes, it's also poisonous.
Oh yeah, also that. It's literally hell.
Yeah. The fucking monster eggs that Rico takes to eat. Even after boiling and grilling them, then the shells. The meat. The shells and meat are so thick that even after Rico's done boiling them, the meat inside of it, or whatever the fucking monster was inside, it's still not technically dead. It's still like twitching and moving around. And
Well,
they're
Nanachi
technically eating it alive.
not. I don't think they are because Nanachi does say like, oh, it's like a post-death reflex. And to be fair,
spasm.
and in real life, you can go onto YouTube and look up dead meat moving compilation. It is a real thing. It's terrifying, but it does happen in real life, even to like intelligent animals or intelligent-ish animals. So
I thought they made it a point to explicitly state that it was like still clinging to life. It wasn't like fully dead, but it was still like somewhat alive even after boiling it.
I thought it was just a post-death response. I don't remember anything
Like-
about it still being alive.
Like not just boiling it. These are fucking eggs. These are fucking not even developed creatures yet, and the muscles are so thick that they can't even be killed by boiling them. It just lends to how fucking hardcore the sixth layer is.
Yeah, shit just got real. One of my favorite, well, ish. There's an asterisk that we'll probably get to later, but the Terminid Dragon, which is like this big, super powerful monster that like if you see it, unless you can move around like Reg does, you're basically instantly dead and completely fucked. Because it's like this super tall, super powerful monster. I forget all of its abilities, except I know it can read the force field and know like what you're about to do next, and it'll be like, okay, you're gonna go here. Yeah, I'll just kill you there.
I think that's the only ability we see from it. But yeah, it is a terror. It doesn't have. We probably haven't seen like the full extent of what it can do, but it's just terrifying in the sense of how fucking huge it is, because it's by far the hugest thing we've seen yet in the Abyss.
Oh yeah, that thing, like it just from size alone, it looks like it is ruling
It's
this
a
layer.
straight
of
up
the Abyss.
dragon.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments in these batch of episodes that really highlights how everything that's come before has just been pussy shit compared to like the actual shit getting real now, is when they try to send up another balloon letter, like they did at the end of season 1. And you know, like at the end of season 1, it was like this whole 2-minute ordeal of it, like surviving all manner of abuse and hardship and weather and then monsters, just to like kind of just barely, but it does make it to the surface, to Orth. And it's this nice little light at the end of the darkness to be like, hey, maybe like it's a symbol of hope, you know, maybe this little balloon letter could like make it through the hellscape that is the Abyss and reach out to our friends, you know, maybe there's like this journey will have like a little bit of light at the end of it after all. This new balloon letter gets immediately trashed.
That is a pretty amazing moment. Trying to think of more shit gets
and the
real
gang
moments.
is just like looking on like, oh fuck, it didn't even last 5 seconds.
Even in like episode 2 is the main sort of like adventure-y type episode in this layer so far, and it does a pretty great job of it, you know, showing like, okay, this place not fun to live in, danger everywhere. Just really shows basically everything you were saying, that like bad layer, as in bad to live in. And then around halfway through episode 2, I guess this is another bit of Tsukushi weirdness. Okay, I'm wondering how far to go in explaining this, but basically, they realize that someone's tailing them because they put a
I
note.
already know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they put a note on one of the things to have with them, and also trying to Mania is
Yeah.
missing at first, if I recall correctly. Or was it Mania?
No,
it was
Prushka's missing.
Prushka. Oh yeah, and it the white I honestly Oh yeah, it was with the village. Okay, so anyway, the white whistle is missing. So they Reg is basically sniffing out like where the thief went. Nanachi
He is becoming more of a dog.
Yeah.
In line with his namesake.
Yeah, Nanachi keeps pointing that out in her head, which is really endearing for Nanachi. I love that moment, but they end up finding like
these small animal corpses that have their assholes sewn shut.
Yeah, and when they when they unsew the ass, I never thought I'd be saying that sentence in this podcast, but when they unsew them, Nanachi and Riko's hair are shoved inside. And it's like, huh? Tsukushi, why? But then
we learn later that
yeah,
it acts as kind of like a ward that repels the bigger monsters. I think it repels the dragons.
Yeah, it's like a curse
just like
repellent,
predators in
basically.
general.
Yeah, it's like supposed to repel bad things from happening to you. And I just want to take a moment to appreciate how Tsukushi managed to turn that into world building. Whether or not you think it's good world building.
It's imperative that these tiny animals be slaughtered and have their buttholes sewn tight shut. So that way, when the characters find them, they rip open the stitches, reach inside, and pull out their plucked hair.
Okay, I just want to take another moment to appreciate how this arc has so much weird stuff with like assholes. First, the little monster gets its butt sewn shut, cause why? But then the tentacle monster with Mania, like or not Mania, Ma, like I mentioned earlier. But then the actual thing,
you mentioned Mania.
Yeah,
you're not wrong though, because
yeah.
The reason Ma gets ass fucked by the tentacles is because he was playing with Mania too rough and he squeezed him too hard and made his eye and his sphincter pop out.
But why? Why is that a detail in this show? Guess what the world would never know.
It adds to the flavoring.
Okay.
Would it truly be Made in Abyss if Mania's asshole didn't get literally blown out?
It just isn't the same if it isn't weird as hell. Apparently.
Yes, we were talking about wild tone shifts before. Another good one was that scene where Mania jumps into Ma's arms at first, then Rico, being Rico, is just like, oh, that's Mania, play nice, okay? And then we hear Rico screaming like, hey, what the fuck are you doing to Mania? Stop, you're treating her too rough. And then we see Ma squeezing Mania so hard that her eye and ass just pop out. And she's like got a fucking terrified look on her face, screaming, Mania, no!
That entire scene is, I mean, first of all, like actually starts getting really tense. Once I
was like, they're not gonna fucking kill Mania like immediately, are they?
I mean, with Made in Abyss, it actually gets you asking that question because you don't know how hardcore this arc is gonna be. But
like, Mania's not even a character, bro.
Yeah.
This is just as a pet. Do you just want to like brutally murder the pet in front of me just to get me to feel something?
So anyway, and then after that, Ma starts getting ripped apart, literally, by like, well, first he has all of his possessions stolen, then starts getting ripped apart by the tentacle monster. And it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, because in this village, if you one of the highest possible crime you can commit is harming someone else's value, because you can't steal and you can't damage value. That is the highest sin, and that sin is punishable by this malevolent goop force coming out and not only stealing all of your belongings, all of your value, but also ripping you apart until the value is made equal.
Yeah, so basically, I think it's a very good introduction to this whole value system. And on the subject of value, this entire arc seems to be about sort of like that concept. I mean, first of all, with the entire value system, but also in that everyone here basically settled into the Golden City because they were satisfied, in essence. Like, they got what they valued, and so they stopped moving forward through the abyss and just decided to start a society here. You know, they got bodies that aligned with their values enough so that they could be satisfied living and have whatever possessions they need in order to have enough value in this place to stay. And I wonder where it's going to go with all this value stuff, because it's kind of everywhere. And it's like, okay, what is being said here? What will Tsukushi end up saying with all this? Because I think we have yet to see the message. But
Well,
where do you think it'll go?
one aspect about that I am looking forward to seeing if they develop on or not is that you were talking about how they choose not to move forward because they become these hollows with bodies that are in line with their desires. But I can't imagine too many of them were hollows by choice. Because like it's heavily, as we see with Wazukyan and Pilaf, we're led to believe that most of the hollows in this village are members of that original squad that went down into the abyss, and maybe a few like more cave raiders that made it down but just were unable to go back up, because once you go down to the 6th layer you just become a hollow. So I wonder how many of them are there by choice and are like actually like yeah, how many of them are there by choice, or how many of them are just like making the most of the situation. It's like, well, I can't really be human anymore, so I might as well just live out like my desires through this village where I can, because everyone else is.
That is something interesting to point out. And another thing is that I think it's the end of episode 2. The narrator sort of gets us ready for the what's going to happen, I presume, at the end of this arc, where it says that you can't escape the 6th layer while retaining your humanity, which means that something's going to have to go down with Rico. So that had my jaw to the floor and going like, what? Are they actually going to alter the design of Rico permanently? And Rico's mother isn't going to look the same.
Well, I don't know about that, because the whole thing about them going down to the abyss is that this is a suicide mission. Like, what we're led to believe by the story that Rico is going to die on this by the end of this journey. Like, she has no choice but to die because she can't ever go back up. So I don't know if she's gonna become a hollow, but
I mean, the ending of episode 2 literally says like, oh, you can't escape this place while retaining your humanity. Which, I mean, like, maybe it means more metaphorical, but in that case, it's just kind of misleading, and I'm gonna feel robbed, man.
I mean, it's made in Abyss, so maybe that has more credence to it than you're letting on. Probably, there's probably some like fucking war crimes that have been committed down here, or like man-made horrors beyond your comprehension.
Well, yeah, that's just a given with Made in Abyss.
Speaking of man-made horrors beyond comprehension, we've finally introduced to the one thing that we saw tiny glimpses of in the first season, but now it's finally come into full prominence. CG.
We were gonna have to get to it eventually, weren't we? My first.
It's not that bad, honestly.
Oh, okay. So.
Well, yeah, but obviously my first instinct upon looking at it is ew, 3D in a 2D environment. A 3D character in a 2D environment.
So my biggest worry going into Made in Abyss season 2 was that like something would happen budgetarily that would make it look significantly worse than the previous 2 installments of the story. And to be fair, I don't think it looks as good as season 1, although to be fair, season 1 started off with like 3 incredible looking episodes. So it's kind of hard to top that this far along into the series, but it's still, I was surprised by how still really good it looks on the whole, but the little bits of CG are admittedly yucky when they appear.
I'm trying to remember all of the instances of CG, because I know like the main one is Machikaja, which, fair is fair. I suppose animating that whole thing 2D would be a bit of a pain in the ass because it's a robot.
Okay, so I think it's Majikaja, the Terminid Dragon, and you said, I think it's Baloth, the serpent creature.
Oh yeah, Beloff the serpent.
Yeah. And I think
you know what,
those are the only
fair
instances.
Is fair. Yeah, I've seen worse. And I'm not trying to make it sound like copium, that I'm just like, it's Made in Abyss, therefore it's not bad. Like, obviously in an ideal world, I would have loved to just have really nice 2D drawings of Majikaja and Beloff, but if this is the sacrifice we have to make, because the background art and the artwork and the animation isn't bad.
That's actually something I'd give the show a lot of credit for, which is that it managed to put all these, unique looking monsters in the background consistently. Like, it doesn't have, I mean, obviously it's hard to have CG.
We don't have CG monster crowd shots.
Yeah.
So, count your fucking blessings.
So it could be worse. I definitely don't like that the Turbinid Dragon is not, or like is CG, and I definitely don't like that Baloth is CG, but I can live with it, I guess. Slightly dissatisfied, but whatever. It is what it is, and I'm just thankful it still looks good overall.
Yeah, I will say, I don't think there's been, so far, like an animation cut or sequence that has been as good as the best from season 1.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, I would also say that, and this isn't a knock against the production of season 2, because they can't really help it, given like this part of the narrative. Season 1 definitely had a better plethora of background art, because season 1 has the advantage because there's a whole like different plattering of settings to choose from, whereas we've been in like one setting the entire time so far.
Yeah, but hey, they do bring out that one setting quite a bit. I think they did a pretty good job of making it look good.
Yeah, Iruburu does feel like it doesn't feel like it was an afterthought, or like they made it up as they went along. It feels like a cohesive village, and like even though it's got a weird system and a weird economy, you can still are able to follow along with it.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking through my notes to see what else I want to talk about.
We haven't really dove into Fapata yet.
Oh, Fapata. Okay. Fapata
she is the princess of hollows.
Yes. Like the top dog when it comes to hollows, and she is someone who knows Reg's past. She is And it is also very enamored with Reg. So she and Reg used to be really close friends, but Reg obviously doesn't remember her, and she is quite upset at that. One thing, another top text Tsukushi moment, bottom text, which is that Faputa, in order to determine if this is the true Reg, wants to check his dick and balls in order to be like, okay, are you the real Reg? I'll know from that. So that makes me wonder.
What is the fascination that the people of Main Abyss have with Reg's dick?
Maybe they just assume that Robot Man's packing.
Well, the first time Rico did, she didn't even know. She checked because she just wanted to see if like this robot did have a dick.
Yeah,
I still want.
It's just everyone.
I can't wait to. There's been a lot of progress on finding out who Reg's creators is, because we've seen Fapata's robot that's with her is kind of like a Reg-esque unit. What the fuck were they called? They have like a special name.
I forget what they're called, but they're, from what we've been told by the narrative, they're robots that are normally relegated
They're called interference units.
Okay. And what their thing is that they each walk around on like a specific layer of the abyss doing, I forget, I don't think they told us what they're actually trying to do in each layer, but they're normally relegated to one layer. And Reg is an exception, which because he can go to every layer of the abyss, even though normally they aren't supposed to. So we're getting a little backstory on what Reg's original purpose may have been. And also, at the end of this batch of episodes, Reg is on his way to find Faputa again. So we are presumably going to get at least most of what he is, I imagine, because Faputa would likely know who he is for the most part, and like what his original purpose was.
Yeah, speaking of Faputa, I just want to say probably my favorite design of the series.
Incredible design. I completely agree. I'm not sure if it'd be my absolute favorite, but it is definitely up there.
I mean, in a series with some top tier character designs like Ozen, Bondrewd, Prushka, I'd say this one's my favorite.
It's a close competition, that is for sure.
I love her fucking multiple arms, her specific shade of red on her skin, the white like fluffiness around her eyes.
I will say I love not Prushka. Why am I forgetting?
Faputa.
Yeah, Faputa. How did I forget that literally that quick?
We were literally just talking about it 10 seconds ago.
So, I do like her color design a lot, though.
She has a very good color scheme.
Oddly enough, the one character design that's sort of competing with Faputa in my mind is Nanachi, just because I really like Nanachi's design. So, Faputa and Nanachi are probably my top two designs of the series so far.
Speaking of Nanachi, I thought she was taking kind of like a backseat role in the story at first, because it didn't seem like Riko's on her quest to look around the sixth layer, just like vibing, whereas Reg's going to find Faputa and try to get answers out of her. And we see the stuff with Nanachi. At first I was like, well, she's not really, doesn't look like she's doing anything. But then Beloff is mentioned by Majikaja, which is like, it means nothing to Nanachi or the other characters, but it matters to the audience, because it was like, wait, how is that guy from so long ago still here in the abyss? And then he name drops Midi, And it's like, well, how the fuck do you know who Midi is?
As it turns out, Bondrewd visited this lair way back in the day, and he had Midi with him for whatever reason. And Bailoff was like, oh my god, Midi, I want her. And so the reason why Bailoff wants Midi is because he can, like Bailoff continually, I guess, sucks the essence.
Feeds on her.
Yeah, feeds off of.
Yeah, because Midi is Midi's body is immortal.
Basically, infinite food for Bailoff. But this is obviously quite painful for Midi, and so Nanachi, seeing Midi still in eternal pain, even after Midi died.
Yeah, well, yeah,
still in eternal
it's important
pain.
to point out that this is technically the Midi we know, and also not the Midi we know, because as much as Beloff wanted the original Midi when Bondrewd brought her to him, he was like, "Nope, ain't for sale, bro. This one's too special." So, Beloff used his he gave up part of like so much of his body to like his hundreds of limbs, half the length of his body, and some of his sensory organs to somehow have a copy of Midi cloned, like even to the point where like they make it a point to say even her soul is like an exact copy of the original Midi. So for all intents and purposes, like this is getting into like fucking Star Trek levels of, oh, if you teleport using the beam thing, it destroys your body and reassembles it somewhere else. Is that like the same person, or is that like a new person? It's one of those things.
Yeah. And yet another instance of like insane levels of magic in the series at this point, where yeah, you can just clone someone's soul. Makes sense. And so,
dude, it was when I saw that Midi was somehow still alive, I was like, damn, what a fucking kick in the ass. Cause like, but the Midi's death is like the emotional high point of the series, in my opinion. I don't think that's a contentious opinion to have. But like, imagine going through all that shit, and like especially like the audience, but also Nanachi, like going through all that just to find out that she's still alive.
maybe this is what they meant when they said the arc got real, or I guess one of many things.
Like, how fucked up is that?
So Nanachi, upon seeing that Midi is still alive, or I guess Midi 2.0, she decides to sacrifice herself, in essence. Where
Yeah, she offers up herself to Beloff to keep Midi safe, and just so she could spend the rest of her days with Midi.
And the people of this society, I think they value Nanachi because she is a true hollow, where she retained most of her humanity. And they also really value Riko because they like human children, specifically. And
You don't say.
well, obviously Tsukushi would write that one. But anyway. So Riko is confronted with this scene of Nanachi asleep next to Midi, having offered up her entire consciousness. And Riko is basically given the choice of, like, you can... So at first Bailoff is like, yo, give me your entire self as a person. And Riko's like, well, no, then I can't get to the bottom of the abyss. But then Bailoff is like, yeah, you're right. I was asking for too much. So how about this? You're I forget the exact series of deals, but it's like it's like one of your arms and one of your legs.
No, like this is what it was. It was like, all right, I'll give you 3 options. Give me your eyes, give me your legs, or give me half of your organs.
Oh yeah, half of her internal organs. And Bailoff is just like, I'm gonna try my best to keep you alive if I take the internal organs. And it's like, well, I don't think that's gonna work. I think try is not enough. So Rico immediately thinks like, okay, if I give up my organs, well, clearly that's gonna kill me.
I love how Rico is like trying to rationalize each each choice. Like, well, I've heard of blind cave raiders, and I suppose Reg, if I give up my legs, Reg could carry me around.
Yeah.
But like, man, this bitch dedicated to her friends though. She was like, if it weren't for Majikaja and Ma dragging her away, she was like prepared to offer up something to Pilaf
And
in order to get
also,
Nanachi back.
Nanachi, who is asleep, briefly wakes up in order to tell Rico, "Don't do it. Don't take the deal. It's not worth it. Just leave me here forever. Go to the bottom of the abyss without me."
Man, so much for Nanachi wanting to travel with their new friends down into the abyss, and to keep Mitty alive in her memory.
Yeah, well, I guess the breaking point is when she's not just alive in their memories, but actually, literally, still alive.
Yeah, I suppose that if I dedicated my entire life to trying to kill my mutated best friend who was immune to all sorts of death, and then only to find out that they were still alive, I guess that would kind of fuck me up too. What before we because we're already ahead of this episode, I think, but I just want to make note one more time of peak Tsukushi degeneracy. How do you think the editor felt when, shortly after the toilet rim job scene, Tsukushi then has Rico get taken into a back alley by a bunch of ugly bastard monsters.
Oh my god. Probably. I think it was a rough day for Tsukushi's editor when that happened. I remember in season 1, I was like, I wanted to show a bunch of my friends like Made in Abyss. I think I literally showed I watched most of the first season with my girlfriend at the time, but I'm thinking back to all the people I considered showing it to, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, I'm glad I didn't do that. There. Yeah. I've gotten 2 people into Made in Abyss over the years, and now they're gonna have to live.
Both of them
with
have ended up in
season 2.
jail.
Yeah, both of them are imprisoned. The police are gonna come for me next after watching this.
It's like they make it a point. Like, it's not just like the regular monsters. These are like, I say ugly bastard because they look like fucking ugly bastard monsters.
They pretty much are. That's like a very apt description of what they are.
And they try to bad touch her, even knowing that the threat of the balancing, because Rico has such a high value.
Yeah, and then they eventually end up getting destroyed by the value monsters.
But not before Ma gets their redemption arc by saving Rico and punching the one that grabs Mania.
Yeah, so Ma redemption arc, best peak fiction. But that was about the moment where it really put into perspective just how many mysteries this arc is setting up in such rapid succession. Because now the next question is, well, okay, how is Ma still alive? I guess the answer can be as simple as, oh, well, hollows don't die. Although then again, Minnie was supposed to have died.
Ma can just regenerate.
You think it's just Ma?
I don't know. Maybe the others can too, but at least Ma should be able to regenerate. I think they make it a point to point that out because we see her arm. Well, I don't know what gender Ma is, but we see their arm get ripped off at some point. And we see that they have a new arm. We see that their fur is is discolored where they was torn apart.
I did notice that.
But I think they can just regenerate.
I was wondering if maybe the way the value sorter works is it'll give people your body parts and then convert it to value, but then you're still left alive after the process somehow. I guess they'll have to explain that later.
I just want to point out this one last thing too, because Rico is definitely a confirmed freak, and it would, and as is quoted as saying she would devour testicles all day on the reg.
Yep. That
They
another fucking
make it a
scene of
point to be
Tsukushi
like,
weirdness.
see, Tsukushi has written Rico to be like she loves a mouthful of balls.
You know, doing this podcast has actually really put into perspective just how many small details like that there are. That is just like, you kind of get desensitized actually watching the show to where some of the weirdness doesn't even like phase you at all. But then going through the podcast and listing them all, it's like, oh yeah, there was more of this than I remembered.
It's like I just want to know, like, is he just leaning into it at this point?
You know,
is he
that
like
would
in
be-
on the joke?
that would be a convincing theory.
Or
What
is
if
he, like,
Tsukushi is
just-
secretly trolling us all?
Or is he just that lost in his own sauce?
Maybe he saw. All right, so what happened was he saw the pushback he got from certain scenes in season 1 back when he was still, it came off as sort of sane. So then he was like, okay, I'll just play into it. I'm gonna have my own villain arc, Tsukushi villain arc, where I'm gonna just bait them as hard as possible. What do you think of this fan theory?
Honestly, I'm just more inclined to believe that he is that freak.
I mean, yeah, he definitely is that freak, but it's way funnier to think he's baiting people.
He's just gaslighting everyone into thinking. He's
Yeah,
a freak.
it's like his ultimate plan. Like the villain behind the curtain just rubbing his hands together like, ha ha ha, I've baited them all. It definitely isn't the case, but I prefer thinking about it that way.
So I think now this will bring us to Rico's encounter with Vueko.
Yeah. At first, when I saw Vueko, so basically, she's at the bottom of this pit that the hollows of the village they can go to, but they instinctively do not like going there because there's this sort of magical force that makes them feel a bad presence in this area. And so Rico and Ma go down there, and Ma's like fighting back against this bad presence because Ma likes Rico, yay! And so Ma and Rico tag along down this cave filled with all this black goo, and then they find Vueko, who has been sitting in this cave for all this time, surrounded by like these basically black strands of goop that are like attached to her and holding her in place. Even though they are very flimsy, it's just that for whatever reason, Vueko is not able to get rid of them. And at first when I saw that, I was like, oh wait, is Vueko the one controlling all the black goop monsters and being like the one who decides the value? Is that what she's doing? But no, that doesn't seem to be the case, and she is imprisoned here, seemingly against her will. And she is able to sense stuff through the goop, and she can sense.
I don't think it's necessarily that she can control like the malevolent balancing force. I think
she can.
It's more like
yeah.
she's become one with it.
Yeah, it's pretty quickly apparent that like she isn't controlling it, but she can sense through the goop what is happening in the village and how it's doing compared to when she was around.
Yeah.
And so Rico, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say that the reason Vueko is down into that pit is because she was, according to her, she was opposed to the creation of the village. So for whatever reason, she was sealed away down there, and then eventually somehow became one with that force.
Yeah, according to her, she is a very, very bad person, and she was put there also as retribution, I guess, for her crimes. And so they bring her back up to the surface. But, I mean, obviously, at first she's naked, so they get her some clothes and hide her because nobody really wants, like if they recognize her, they're gonna be having some bad memories, and she doesn't want anyone to sort of, like, know who she really is.
I'm trying to think of more interesting things to say about Vueko, but I feel like we've gone into it all. I feel like with that teaser at the end of episode 6, we're gonna learn a lot more about her, like probably how
Yeah.
she got into that situation.
Vueko, I guess there is a little more to talk about in terms of her personality, because, you know, she's sort of like this very low confidence, very shy sort of girl. Has just been beaten
Yeah, it's like she
down.
kind of hates herself.
Yeah.
But, like isn't like smiling about it.
Like
'Cause,
completely
like, she
hates
knows she's a
herself.
piece of shit.
At the beginning in the flashback, we see that she's very reluctant to talk to people, very not very high confidence. And she's getting like this advice from, I forget his name, but white hair, blue eyes.
Beloff.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
then,
that's Beloff.
Yep, okay. And then she is still sort of, she has the same cadence to her tone when they rediscover her at the bottom of the pit. Which, by the way, I really like Vuiko's voice actor. I think she did a fantastic job at conveying the specifics of Vuiko's voice and making it really stand out. So, good job.
Yeah, I think, let's see, that one was, who played Vuiko? Let's see, it is Yuka Terasaki. Alright, well, back on topic.
You were forgetting what happens after they find Vuiko, but that's like after that, Riko, that's when she finds Nanachi for the first time. And
Yeah,
so,
and then as she's like trying to offer something up to get Nanachi back, there's the luring happens in the village where a monster is lured into the village by the hollows and they hunt it for value.
yeah, it's interesting how like it's not for food or for self-defense, because they're specifically luring the monster here. It is entirely for value, to raise the village's value, which I feel like the show is trying to say something there, but I think it'll be once we get to the end of the series that I'll actually be able to parse the message. We get this huge scene of like the monster is very difficult to fight back, but then Riko, being a strategist, she's like, okay, I got this. She discovers that like, oh, you can hit the monster from underneath. That's like his weak point, and gets everyone along with her with her plan by having her girl cuts hair character arc and selling her hair for value in order to get people to go along with it.
I will say I am a big fan of short hair Riko.
I am too. I think she looks great like that.
She's a lovable little skrunklo now.
It also I was sort of joking around earlier before I had seen the show that like, oh, she cut her hair, Riko's gonna become jaded Riko. No, she's still as enthusiastic as ever. It was more so it was like less the signifying of like an emotional change within her, and more just Tsukushi got bored of the design probably and was like, okay, value.
And then they have this big sequence where they try to trap the monster and fight it. and the trap works momentarily, but the monster comes back to life for a moment, grabs Ma, and we think Ma's character redemption's gonna be short-lived. But then Rico gets a message from Prushka's force ghost, I guess, blows the whistle, and then Reg comes flying in to save her, all powered up in his new white shonen form.
Yeah, so apparently she can blow the whistle and get, like, Reg will instantly know, oh, she's in danger. I need to be here, and just, like, teleport across the map or something like that.
I think he just moved really, really fast.
Yeah, really, really fast.
I'm a big fan of any time a character gets a new form. I'm just a sucker for shonen transformations, and I was not expecting this show to be one of those things, but apparently that's a thing. Reg has a new form now.
Oh, yeah. Just a random tidbit. I know this is kind of off topic, but I like how Reg has gone this entire arc one-armed, because for some reason, like, I guess it doesn't get attached in Dawn of the Deep Soul, but I imagined watching that movie like, okay, he's gonna get it back pretty soon. It's been 6 episodes. He is not getting it back anytime soon.
It's been cut off, bro.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I like about Made in Abyss, which is that, I mean, Rico now has 2 scars, one on her face and one on her arm.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of scars on characters.
It especially works thematically for Made in Abyss, because it's like, well, you're not going through that abyss unscathed, so it makes sense to have a character who has literally lost an arm, or who has
come out
scars.
Physically scarred and emotionally scarred.
Very emotionally scarred.
And with that, the last bit we already touched on earlier with Vueko's little monologue and vision about Iramui, who might be that amber-looking star compass.
And Rico, not Rico, Reg is set to find Fapata again, and it feels like the next few episodes after this, it's leading into now answering some of the, well, first of all, the mysteries in this arc with Vueko, and second of all, some of the larger mysteries of the narrative with Reg's past and what his relationship with Fapata might have been.
It's, yeah, very interesting developments. Very much looking forward to seeing the new episodes. Of all of the shows that we've covered thus far on Castaway Anime, this is the one specific series or season of a series where I'm dying to know what happens next. Like the most.
I will definitely. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what shows I'm more specifically excited to know what happens next, and I'm struggling to think of anything.
List.
Yeah,
Dress Up Darling, Spy Family, fucking Bleach, Sangatsu. I can't count Owl House because I already know what happens. Yeah, no. I call the night. Nope.
I mean, I guess
JoJo. Nope.
The closest thing would be like Sangatsu no Lion, just because the second season does end on like it not really being complete. You still got to go in the manga, and I am curious about that and need to read it someday. But honestly, I mean, at least right now, I'm more interested to know specifically what happens in Made in Abyss, since that's a lot more of like a plot focused show with a lot more loose ends, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I'm really curious. I guess I'll use this to transition into overall thoughts on the arc, which is that I think its overall quality will be mainly determined by how it wraps up everything it has set up, which I mean, I have faith in the show at this point. Like, Made in Abyss, okay, it's won me over enough to where I can just be like, okay, it's gonna be good. And I think in the end, this arc will be wrapped up in a satisfying enough way, which will probably include a lot of overarching mysteries of the show, which
Yeah,
will probably make it a
the manga
really great
fans,
time.
the manga fans are saying this next 6 episodes is where like the super dark shit happens.
I feel
I'm
like
like, ooh.
these 6 episodes have mostly been set up for a whole lot of payoffs. And well, with Made in Abyss, like obviously with some shows you doubt, like, is it really gonna go through with all the payoffs? But with Made in Abyss, it's like, okay, well, I trust it. I trust you're gonna pay this off in a good way, and I can't wait to see what happens. And so I guess that makes it impossible at this point to be like, oh, are these 6 episodes on par with the first season? Are they better than it? Are they worse than it? It's like, well, it depends very heavily on how it's paid off. But at the same time, it's not noticeably worse. So I'd say it still has the potential to one up season 1.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to say that it's better than season 1 or the movie just yet. Mainly because the movie is like probably the best piece of Made in Abyss content that's come out. And let's see, in terms of 6 episodes, I'm trying to remember what the first like where the stopping point of the first 6 episodes of season 1 was. Because I'm trying to think, was this like which group of first 6 episodes was better?
Once again, that's so hard to say because it's like it what I will say about season 1 is that it was a lot less setup. Like there was less setting up new plot points and more like going through this adventure. Granted, some things were being set up, but the payoffs were a lot smaller, I guess. And it was also focused on like showing you a lot of new locations and being like, okay, this is more of a classic adventure story. So they're two sort of different beasts. Yeah, it just depends on how season 2 wraps all of this up. I think because these first 6 episodes feel like something that, like, if you know how it all pays off, that rewatching it is incredibly rewarding. So it's hard to say. Like, these are prime rewatch material.
Oh, hell yeah. So that just leaves me with one last question. Now comparing this to all of the other shows that have come out this season, is this like the best thing? Is this better than all these shows that we covered on the seasonal cast?
I can't really think of a show that. I mean, I guess Call of the Night and Isekai Oji-san are like better in certain contexts to where, like, if you need a show to decompress to, Made in Abyss is the fucking worst choice you could choose.
I would never. I want to meet the person who says Made in Abyss is their comfort show and be like, what kind of life do you live?
That is a horrifying thought, someone using this as their comfort show. So I guess...
Yeah, not that she is my comfort character and like, hurt you?
So Isekai Oji-san and Call of the Night are definitely better at certain things. And
but if we're talking like general overall quality...
I'd say Made in Abyss is probably the best constructed narrative.
Yeah. That leads me to actually the actual final point. Sad to say, I haven't seen too much talk surrounding the second season. At least not compared to...
noticed that.
At least not compared to... Granted, this is similar to, season 1 of Made in Abyss, where it went under the radar at first, and then as it went along, and as it wrapped up, then it got people's attention, because this shit got popular entirely through word of mouth. But now, here we are, a season and a movie later, now on to the second season, and everyone knows what Made in Abyss's deal is. and it's kind of fallen to the wayside, sadly.
I mean, it's still very popular, so I'm not too upset about that because like it's still like a huge show and there's still a bunch of people watching it. It's right now ranked 37th on my anime list. Not in terms of popularity. In popularity, it's 801. But
Yeah, in terms of the seasonal chart, it's 6th place right now.
oh, that is actually way lower than I expected.
Yeah, it's beaten out by in order from most to least. Devil's Part-Timer Season 2, Overlord Season 4, Call of the Night, Rent a Girlfriend Season 2, and Classroom of the Elite Season 2.
Alright, hold on. You said Rent a Girlfriend Season 2 was beating it?
Yes.
That's criminal. Although, admittedly, Dawn. What? Okay, do you know how readily available Dawn of the Deep Soul is? Because I mean,
You mean Season 2?
No, like Dawn of the Deep Soul specifically.
Oh, the movie?
Yeah, the movie. Because you need to watch that before Season 2. And I know for a long time it was like theater only, so many people who wanted to continue the story
you can get it
couldn't.
on Blu-ray. If not, you can get it in Minecraft.
Yeah, I personally watched it in Minecraft. You know, the villager crowd was very annoying.
When is Fortnite gonna have Made in Abyss characters? And then that lets you watch episodes of Made in Abyss on a screen.
So I mean, I guess if like Made in Abyss, Dawn of the Deep Soul isn't on all of the streaming sites that people watch the original on, that
I think it's on It's on High Dive, which is where this is.
You know, I'm trying to remember what High Dive is.
It's the Sentai Filmworks streaming service.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I would say that would be the reason maybe it's not as popular, but Call of the Night is on High Dive, and that's the most popular original show of the season. And I see people talking about that show.
Is Yofukashi more popular than Made in Abyss Season 2 right now?
Yes.
That does seem a little weird to me, admittedly. Although I guess it is a pretty popular manga. So maybe it isn't as surprising as it... maybe shouldn't surprise me as much as it does.
I just haven't seen anyone talk about it. Like, bro, I've seen Lycoris Recoil trending on Twitter more times than I have Made in Abyss.
That is true. Although I guess at this point, like, a lot of the people watching Season 2 are also manga readers. Maybe that's it. Because Made in Abyss fans of, like, the manga never shut up about the manga. I know that from experience. So maybe they're just like, yeah, it's Season 2. It's the story I'm already acquainted with.
Well, hopefully podcasts like this can bring more people into the light to watch the wholesome goodness that is Made in Abyss.
Just say it's your favorite slice of life anime. Your favorite cute girls doing cute things show. Also, this is completely fucking irrelevant to anything we've said so far, but I know Made in Abyss is like Glass Reflection's favorite anime, and
Who gives a fuck about that guy?
Okay, fair, but I'm just wondering, because he has a habit of not liking the Season 2s of shows that he really likes. I'm just curious. The one time I will watch a Glass Reflection video is when he talks about Made in Abyss Season 2, inevitably. Because it'll happen, and I'm just curious about that. Anyway, that was an aside that didn't have any relevance to anything we're doing right now.
And on that note, I think that'll just bring us to the end of this episode of Castaway Anime, unless you have any other thoughts.
Nope, except that I was very entertained. It was a very easy, despite watching all 6 episodes in the same night, did not have to struggle at all. Like, was not an issue to get through.
Yeah, the Abyss fiction is back, boys.
Feels good to be home.
And if you want to hear us continue covering Abyss Fiction, when the other 6 episodes come out throughout the remainder of the season, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and head on down to the comments to let us know what you think about Made in Abyss Season 2 and how much you love it. If you spoil anything from the manga, you will be tried for war crimes.
Well, that'll just make them more likely to do it.
Yeah, but I'll know where they live.
True.
I will make it my mission in life to end their existences.
Maybe I'll just wait until part 2 comes out to read the comments on this podcast.
Yeah, looks like that'll do it for this episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.